Round 1 of the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Ute Championship took place at the Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park in Taupo. Paul Manuel claimed race number 1 and got into a great battle in race number 2 as well. Defending champion Richard Moore took a win as well here at Taupo, and a great performance from Glenn Collinson to remain second place. At the end of the day though, Paul Manuel took the overall. Shell Helix Motor Oils proudly present the Porter Group V8 Ute Championship. Manfeild Circuit Chris Amon was the venue for round 2 of the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Utes, and the biggest field yet this season took part, with over 17 facing the starter for race number 1. The season is evolving well. To tell us about that, Paul Isaac.
We've completely restructured in the off-season and looked at ways of building bigger grids, and we come up with reducing our rounds, so we cut down from 6 rounds per season to 4 per season now. We've also cut out practice on Friday and just reduced it to a Saturday, Sunday operation, so the guys have got less time away from home, their businesses and what have you. And it also lets the guys run a 4-round series, and then they can use the utes and run enduros and other bits and pieces they want to run in. So the main thing is just to cut the cost down for the guys, so it's affordable, and it seems to be working. We've got Peter Ward back, the founding shareholder from day one. We've got Brett Rudd back, Matt Spratt back, and we've got a new driver in this weekend to the camp, Brett Main. So yeah, here with 17 utes this weekend, and the numbers are looking good.
Best qualifier in the Ford these days was Matt Spratt with a 1:19.566. Second, the current champion Richard Moore, a 1:19.717. Third quickest, Paul Manuel with a 1:19.912.
With the new format this year, you turn up to the race weekend and in your first stints qualifying, it's quite hard to get your mind zoned in, get used to the car and the track. But been doing a lot of racing over in Aussie, and the pressure there's very good. It's sort of helped me this year. So Jake's been very great. The car's great, and it's really good just to come down here, miss the first round, and come down here and put her on pole.
So it's the Stinger, Matt Spratt on pole position. Alongside of him, Richard Moore. Second row, Manuel and Collinson. Row number 3, Ward and Handley. Watch 2 for Alexandra Whitley. She's been going very, very well this season so far. Further down through the field, ex-offshore powerboat champion Sammy Fillmore, and yet another Holden, and Simon the Bandit Usher. Big field of Porter Group V8 Utes in association with Ward Demolition. And on the front row, it's the classic battle. It's Ford versus Holden, because we've got Matt, the Stinger Spratt, in a Ford, and he's being monstered at the moment, and maybe there was a little bit of contact as they work their way into Toyota for the first time, but it's Richard Danger Moore that goes into the lead. Great start too from the DNA Custom Paints Falcon of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. Not quite such a good start from Paul Manuel, but he's in the mix. There he is in the Partmaster Super Freight Holden, so he's right there. Peter Ward right back into it as well. A little bit of a lock-up there, looked like it came from Jeff Spence. Great to see Brett the Scud Rudd back. He's been doing pit duties for his great mate Rob Vasey at Western Springs in a sprint car. This is his first competition outing for the new season. Same can be said, we mentioned Matt Spratt, well, the first time out in a Ford, and doing a pretty good job of it at the moment. But it's the Holden in the front, and that is Richard Danger Moore. Sneaking up into second place on the outside as we look at it, as they come down into the braking area for Higgins. That's Glenn the Coyote Collinson in that beautiful FG Falcon, and right there on the inside, Collinson just running a little bit wide on the inside. It is Matt Spratt. So these three trying to break away. Paul Manuel trying to keep them honest. Looks like Hammer Time Handley in there as well in the Placemakers Ford. So a few changes if this is the first time you've watched the Porter Group V8 Utes this season. A couple of defections from Ford to Holden. Just makes it a little bit more interesting. Oh, a little bit of contact there between Porter and Brett the Scud Rudd by the look of it. That's the battle further down through the field. These guys going at it like it's the World Championship. This is only the second lap. We've got a long, long way to go just yet. And look at the battle at the front of the field. It's Holden on Ford. Moore in the lead. Spratt in second place, then it's Collinson, then it's Manuel, then we'd go back to Handley. On the outside of him, Peter Chaos Wood just being shaken onto the outside of the track there. So they work their way into Splash. Ward having another go, trying to get down the inside of Handley this time. Might have made the pass stick. No, not quite, as they work their way down towards the hairpin. Have a look at this, nose-to-tail racing. This is what we've come to expect with the Porter Group V8 Utes. This is as close as you like as they work the infield. There is Alexandra Whitley in the LDV Ute. She's done a little bit of testing at Pukekohe in the lead up to this one with her fiancé. So she's making a pretty good account of herself at the moment. Spratt trying to get around Richard Moore. Moore using all his racecraft experience to shut the door on him. Great scrap going on between Glenn the Coyote Collinson and Paul Manuel. Manuel down the inside as they go through Higgins, and that is for position. So Manuel will move up into third. Collinson will go back to fourth. Handley there ready to pounce as well. And look at the way the rest of the groups come up as these guys have been dicing. Jeff SOS Spencer in the mix as well in the core steel Holden. This is Paul Manuel, the sprint champion 2 seasons ago, now firmly in third place. Then it's a freight train behind him. And look at this battle going on between Handley and Ward. Ward in the Ward Demolition Holden, Handley in the Placemakers Ford. There is nothing in this, and Jeff Spencer ready to pounce as well as he'll get track position as they head down into turn 1 here at Manfeild. Coming into the mix as well as Andrew Porter, so there's going to be like a 5-way go for the mid positions. A little bit of contact there from Porter on Spencer. Ward gets up ahead of Handley. Handley, a past champion. Ward, one of the originals. Here comes Spencer having another go as they work their way through the left-right combination. Andrew Porter gets a little bit closer too, so does Brett the Scud Rudd, all being brought back into this battle. Meantime, out in the front, it is still Richard Moore, but he's got all he can handle now from Matt the Stinger Spratt. Down the inside in the Placemakers Ford goes Chris Handley. Can he make it stick as they come out of the hairpin? Yes, he can. And as they head down the Denny Holmes Straight, we've got another leader, another positional change, I should say. And look at the Holmes Group Ford of Matt the Stinger Spratt getting really racy as they head back into Higgins. Well, everywhere you look on the track, 17 Utes out there. It's the biggest field we've seen, and there's just wall-to-wall action. The big crowd will be loving this. It's part of the support program of the New Zealand Grand Prix, and it's the best racing we've seen all season. It's the Porter Group V8 Utes. It's still Richard Moore in the front. Have a look at the battle further back. Placemakers Ford of Chris Handley, Peter Chaos Ward, one of the originals. They're in it like it's the World Championships. And should they make a mistake, Jeff SOS Spencer will be right there as well. This is the first 4. Moore leads it. He's the current champion of the class. Right in behind him, making his Ford debut. And Manuel on the outside of Matt the Stinger Spratt as they head down into turn 1 once again. Oh, a little bit of late braking there from Peter Ward, and that's allowed the higher man, Andrew Porter, to get up the outside of Jeff SOS Spencer in the core steel Holden. Once again, Ward's not satisfied with it yet as they come down into Splash. Drives down to the inside to try and make the pass stick. And Moore's got all he can handle at the front of the field. Spratt looking left, looking right. Now Collinson's in the battle. It'll be a 4-way go at the front. And have a look at this. There's 5 or 6 Utes competing for the minors here as they head out of the hairpin and down the Denny Holmes Straight. Fantastic racing. 3 races to look forward to over the weekend. Manuel gets a little bit racy. Tries to change tack as they head down into Higgins once more. It is Moore leading it. A little bit of damage on the back of the car. That's the close contact from Matt the Stinger Spratt and Manuel there as well. In fact, Manuel trying to dive up the inside in the double apex turn that is Higgins. Who's going to carry the speed? Down the long back straight here at Circuit Chris Amon, and that is the Manfeild Auto Course. The Panorama Motorsport DNA Paints Falcon of Glenn the Coyote Collinson getting racy, and Manuel's got up into second place, but he gets way sideways, and maybe the contact from Spratt might have just straightened him up. That might have been a little bit of good luck for Paul Auto Manuel because he's in second place now. Now, these guys have been bitter rivals. They've been teammates. They're great mates off the track, but no quarter is asked or given when they're racing. Richard Moore, Paul Manuel, all part of M3 racing in the Super Tour days. There is Matt the Stinger Spratt. Done a little bit of racing in Australia. Bit of a lock-up as they work through into Splash once again. It is Holden Ford. That's the order at the moment. And then it's another Ford in the DNA Paints Ford, the FG Falcon of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. And look what's going on behind them. Porter's in a whole world of hurt as they head down into the hairpin. And there's a little bit of contact between he and Brett the Scud Rudd there in the Pellet Racing Holden. So it is on everywhere you look. And they're starting to close down Alexandra Whitley. Back to the front of the field. Manuel right on the tailgate now of Richard Moore. Have a look at this battle here. There is the 99 making his competition debut for the 2017-18 season. That is Brett the Scud Rudd. Just ahead of him, it's Alexandra Whitley. And then it is the high man, and that is Andrew Porter, the Porter Group Holden, coming through the field. He started from way back, so it's been a great drive from the multiple New Zealand truck champion. 4 of them in the front. Then there's a little bit of a gap, and then there's 4 of them going at it as well. Unbelievable stuff in the Utes. Moore crosses the stripe in the front with just a hair of breathing space between himself and Manuel. Then it is the Stinger, Matt Spratt. Behind him, Glenn the Coyote Collinson. Oh, just a little bit of a gentle nudge just to let him know that Paul Manuel is knocking on the door, and he's pushed Moore wide. Is he going to make the pass work? And look at this, Spratt taking advantage of it as well. Door handle to door handle. Spratt's been caught out for track position. Manuel will hold on to second. Moore will stay in the front. Round the left-right combination and into the infield hairpin they come once again. Bit of a lock-up there from Manuel. Spratt getting into it as well. A little bit of contact between Spratt and Glenn the Coyote Collinson. 2 Holdens, 2 Fords. That's what we want to see here. It's round 2 of the Porter Group V8 Utes, and it's an absolute beauty. Richard Moore, the defending champion, he's holding on by the skin of his teeth at the moment. He's reprised all challenges so far. Can he do it here? Into Higgins they go once again. This little scrap between the 99 of Brett the Scud Rudd and Andrew Porter not done with yet as they get very close. Meantime, in no man's land a little bit by the close racing we've seen here is Jeff SOS Spencer, another one of the old originals. We go back to the front of the field because there is nothing, absolutely nothing in this. They are nose to tail as they come down onto the front straight once again. Collinson just picks up a slightly wider line. That may cost him as they head down into 1 now. Richard Moore squeaks out a little bit of advantage heading down into Toyota. Last lap, so Manuel's got to do something if he wants to win this race. Look at Spratt just giving him a gentle tap on the bumper once again. He wants to force him wide. He wants to dive up the inside. Can't do it. Lap traffic going to play a part in this one? No, they hold their line, so it doesn't affect this scintillating race at the front of the field. Richard Moore, you've got to take your hat off to him. He has repelled all challenges so far. We're on the last lap. They're running to the flag. It's Holden on Holden. Manuel in second place, trying everything he can to get around the Mitre 10 Trade Racing Holden of Richard Danger Moore. Matt Stinger Spratt is in there as well. Collinson still firmly in 4th place. Then it's Hammer Time Hanley. And then it's Peter Chaos Ward. Behind him, Jeff Spencer. And then that battle between Whitley, Scud and Porter. Last time they go into Higgins. Has Manuel got anything for Richard Moore? Does he get a good drive out of the corner? Will that transfer to a little bit more top speed as they head down the back straight here at Circuit Chris Amon, Manfeild? It's race 1 of 3. It's Richard Moore's for the moment. Now he's going to go defensive. A bit of a lock-up. Pinches the right front as they head down into the big sweeper at the top end of the circuit. Manuel looks for a little bit of a chink in the armour. Tries to go up the inside. Doesn't work for him. Spratt's content to follow. Here comes the Collinson Ute right down the inside and on the grass, and he doesn't quite get there. So it will be Spratt for 3rd. But what about Richard Moore? He wins it. Fastest lap of the race goes to the man that finished 2nd, and that is Paul Auto Manuel. Have a look at this on the replay. Collinson with 2 wheels on the grass.
We go out there and we race hard, and look, I was being certainly very defensive, and my Ute was about 12 feet wide, has a few points out there, but that's the great things about these Porter Group V8 Utes, and the great thing about how we've got our Mitre 10 Trade Racing Ute set up today. It's just fantastic. It makes it a lot more difficult to get the car turned when you've got 2 cars pushing you straight ahead, but look, that's the great thing about this. All I've got to replace is a rear bumper. A few others have a few other things to replace, but that's all good. That's what we're out here to do. We're here to race hard and put on a show for everyone.
That was an extremely wide Richard Moore #1 car, but he did a great job of keeping me out, so made for good racing, I guess. Yeah, it was awesome. Cool.
He stuffed my start up, just left it in first and set it on the limiter, and I was all over them. The car's quicker, feeling good, just trying to find the right place to pass, and these guys know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a while, so they know how to cut the line off. So no, I had a good. Collinson was great. He's got some good speed, so it was a good four-way battle. Loved it.
Official results and a few surprises. Matt the Stinger Spratt's been penalised 30 seconds along with Peter Chaos Ward for a technical infringement. So now it looks like Moore, Manuel, Collinson, Handley, Spencer, Whitley, Rudd, Porter, Kernahan and Fillmore. Kernahan, Land, Usher, Spratt, Main, Ward and Dave Shaggy Lowe. Plenty of action still to come. We've got 2 more races to look forward to in the Porter Group V8 Utes. And if it's anything like race number 1, you won't want to miss it. Multiple Super Truck Racing champion Andrew Porter has done a lot in New Zealand motor racing, from New Zealand V8s to Super Trucks, but this is his first season in the Porter Group V8 Utes.
Been a little while since we've been on the track, but really enjoying the series so far, and
looking forward to the next couple of rounds. A lot of change from the truck, totally different to the old cars as well, because they're a big heavy thing, but well, the truck's heavy as well, but different characteristics, and they got their positives and their negatives when you're racing them. Peter Ward had tied us into sponsoring the series, and then the boys in Hamilton there, they said, well, we should really be running one of those ourselves. And the cost of it's been reduced with what the management have implemented. So there's quite a few low budget teams running in the class now, which is good, and just the camaraderie, and everybody helps each other, and it's just really a good weekend racing, you know. Because you're restricted with computers and on the engines, that kind of thing, so essentially you can't change a lot on them. You can only buy 4 new tyres per round, and the rest of it's just stock standard, pretty much.
So reverse top 10 for race number 2, and that means the likes of Richard Danger Moore and Paul Manuel have got a little bit of traffic to contend with. It'll be Sammy Fillmore and Jeff Ripples Kernahan off the front row. Further down through the field, watch for the action from Simon the Bandit Usher and Matt Stinger Spratt. He's got more work to do than most. He comes from the very back. That's him about 2 rows from the end. Lights go out here at Manfeild. This is race 2 for the Porter Group V8 Utes, and on the front row it is Sam Fillmore and Jeff Kernahan. We'll be tracking the progress of the fast boys though, and there was none faster in race number 1 than the Partmaster Super Freight Holden of Paul Auto Manual. He's buried in the pack for the moment, but they don't expect him to stay there for much longer. Richard Moore taking the wide line through turn number 1 here at Manfeild. Meantime, at the front there's already been a couple of changes as we zoom in on the Kernahan Ute, and that's Andrew Porter diving down the inside through Splash to try and make the pass, and that I would think will be the pass for the lead. Well, they say Rubbin's racing. No, it's Brett the Scud Rudd that's got away from a second row start, so he's leading them as they work their way up into the infield hairpin for the first of 12 times. Porter through into second place, then it's Kernahan, and then it would be Jeff Spencer. There he is on the right-hand side as we look at it as they head down into the braking air for Higgins. Brett the Scud Rudd, though, stolen a bit of a march in the early going here at Manfeild. He's got away. Pretty good performance in race number 1 for the Scud. His first competition debut for the new season, and doing it all the right things at the moment. Bit of a lock up there. I think that might have been from Glenn the Coyote Collinson, and Manuel's gone straight across the field and slammed into the outside wall on the back straight. That's a huge, huge accident for the man they call Auto in the Super Freight Partmaster Holden. Smoke, steam, you name it, it's all pouring out of the Holden, and Paul Manuel climbing gingerly from the truck. The yellow flags will come out. I'm sure this will turn into a red. That is a serious, serious accident. Here it is from a different angle. Maybe he got a touch, I'm not sure, but that was a huge impact into the unforgiving concrete wall here at Manfeild Circuit Chris Amon. Lots and lots of damage there for the crew to work on as the rain pitter-patters down. Restart time now. Scud in the front, Porter in second, then it's Kernahan, then it is Spence. Kernahan and Spence, the originals of the series here in New Zealand. In behind them now, Sam Fillmore, and right in behind him, it's Chris Hammertime Hanley. So watch the progress of the placemakers forward, diving down the inside once again. Collinson taking his favourite outside line through 1. Hasn't worked for him though. Can't make too much impression on Hanley for the moment. It's Sam Fillmore just up ahead of him, but it's Scud. Brett the Scud Rudd leading it. Porter getting a little bit closer. Well, Andrew Porter has done a whole lot of racing in his very varied motorsport career, from super trucks to endurance racing to New Zealand V8 touring cars. But here he is having his first full season in the NZ V8 Utes, and he absolutely loves it. And he's sitting in second place. There he is. Andrew the Higher Man Porter starting to put a move on Brett the Scud Rudd. Fillmore looking for racing room as well. Hanley rounds him up though and go right round the outside of him as they come through Higgins once again. Drifting a little bit wide there was Matt the Stinger Spratt, but he's come from way back, so it's a pretty good performance thus far from the Ford man, the Primo Grow Holmes Group Ford. Collinson just inside him. Alexandra Whitley, well, she qualified well. She raced well in race number 1. She certainly isn't put off by the tactics of the men. She's the only lady in the field, but she's certainly putting up a good account of herself. There she is there, just in front of Matt the Stinger Spratt. Jeff Spence getting all sorts of racy as he tries to pull in his good mate, Jeff Kernahan. So once again, we're seeing 2 little battles starting to form at the front. It's the Scud, and then it's the Higher Man, then it's Ripples, and then it is SOS. This is the battle further down. Sammy Fillmore, Glenn the Coyote Collinson, and Alexandra Whitley. Just up ahead of them is past champion in the field, and that is Chris Hanley. So a distinct group starting to form here, but they close up once again as they work their way through Splash, this infield section of the circuit here in Manfeild. Just the gentlest of kisses onto the tailgate of Sam Fillmore's Holden, courtesy of the Collinson Ford, as they work their way down the short straight into Higgins once again. Look at this side-by-side racing here. This is Chris Handley and Jeff Kernahan. We've done this many times before. As I mentioned before, Handley, a past champion in the series. Took a break, but now back in the thick of things, but in a Ford this time, the Placemaker's Ford. The 21 there, sitting beside him, and that's Jeff Ripples Kernahan. So this is a battle further down through the field. Meantime, making hay while the sun shines is Andrew Porter. There is Sam Fillmore. Remember, he was on the front row. He's drifting back through the field as Matt the Stinger Spratt and also Richard Danger Moore start to round him up. 3 wide as they come onto the front straight here at Manfeild. This is what we've come to expect from the Porter Group V8 Utes. It has been scintillating all season. This is round 2 of 4. We're here to support the New Zealand Grand Prix. Here is Richard Moore, and once again, he's found his good mate and his sparring partner, and that is Matt the Stinger Spratt. Another one making his debut in a Ford. Look at what's happening further down through the field. Jeff Ripples Kernahan getting absolutely monstered by Alexandra Whitley as they work their way through Splash once again. Ford on Holden. The classic confrontation just up ahead of them. Sporting a little bit of damage there is Glenn the Coyote Collinson. Round into the infield hairpin they go, nose to tail. Who's going to get the better drive out of the corner? Will it be the Holden of Alexandra Whitley, or will it be the Ford of Kernahan? Whitley looks to the outside as she tries to make the move as they head down into Higgins. Who'll go to the brakes later? Whitley's got the nose in front. She gets the position. She does. Well, she's done it all in Australian racing, and she's done it all here in New Zealand, from Sangyong Utes to the Porter Group V8 Utes. Alexandra Whitley doing a fantastic job in the LDV Holden. At the front, the action is thick and fast. This is a little ways from the front. Handley, Collinson, Whitley, then it's Kernahan, then it is Richard Moore looking for racing room. Just slowly but surely just creeping the KCL Ute just a little bit wide, and that allows the pass. Porter's got away a little bit here. Jeff Spencer through in second place, and it's Handley and Collinson, Whitley. Richard Moore starting to make his presence felt as well. Remember, no Paul Manuel. A big crash in the early stages had put him out. So we'll check on the progress of repairs to that truck. Hopefully we can see him back in race number 3. Collinson going at it like there's no tomorrow. Jeff Kernahan, they say he's one of the hardest men to pass in the New Zealand V8 Utes, and I'm sure if you ask Matt Spratt that right now, he would agree. He's trailing Richard Moore. Remember, these guys have come from toward the back of the grid. Out in the front, it's Andrew Porter, doing a fantastic job. Are we going to see history in the making here? Are we going to see the first win for Andrew Porter? We're not, because Brett the Scud Rudd's got back in front of him. So these two swapping the lead. Handley looking racy, trying to get down the inside of fellow Fordster, and that is Glenn the Coyote Collinson. He's got the nose in front. Collinson's going to go right round the outside as they work their way around Higgins. This double apex turn here at Manfeild, famous for so many reasons, and they are still side by side. Who's got the jump? Look at this. Positions changing left, right and centre. Whitley is there, trying to get round the outside of Whitley as they head down into the big sweeper at the top end of the circuit is Handley. Down the inside of Handley is Collinson. Here comes Richard Moore as well. You can throw a blanket over these 5 as they work their way, bumping and grinding down the front straight here at Manfeild. Handley gets shuffled in the order. Whitley stays in the front of this little group. She's going to get caught out for track position. No, she's not. She'll shut the door on Richard Moore, so she stays in the spot. Matt the Stinger Spratt working up the inside. Oh, a little bit of contact there. You saw the Falcon, the Placemaker's Falcon, just twitch. This is what's happening at the front of the field. Andrew Porter trying to get that number 1 spot back from Brett the Scud Rudd in the Pellet Supplies. Lost Cam Holden. Holden on Holden here. Porter down the inside. The Scud on the outside. The Scud making his debut here at round 2 of the Porter Group Utes. Andrew Porter looking for the race win. He's going to have to go the long way round as well. Is he going to be able to live there? No, he isn't. Now he looks for the crossover. Outside, inside. Can't quite get it. Tries again as they come out of the turn. And once again, he gets up by the B pillar, but he can't make the pass stick. Down the short chute they come into Higgins once more. This is the action at the front of the field. Brett the Scud Rudd. Oh, and problems here for Peter Chaos Ward. And that is a high-speed exit. We go back to this race, and Porter's found his way down the inside of the Scud, and he's got the front through the big sweeper at the top end of the circuit. So Andrew the higher man Porter into the lead here at Manfeild. Brett the Scud Rudd not content to follow in second as he tries to draw level as they head down into 1 once again. Porter though has the line. Just runs a little bit wide, gets a little bit sideways. Of course, these Utes run on the Yokohama tyres. It's all very much controlled. I know they've done a lot of work in the off-season with parity between the Fords and the Holdens, so there's absolutely nothing in it. But this is a battle at the front of the field for the GM fans. This is a battle of the Holdens. This is Sammy Fillmore and Ripples Kernahan. Holden on Ford, the Alliance Group Holden versus the KCL Transport Ford, as close as you like as they work their way down through Splash, as it used to be called here at Manfeild, and up into the infield hairpin. Well, Brett the Scud Rudd certainly hasn't given this one up. He is right there should Andrew Porter make a mistake. But as I said before, Porter's done a lot of racing, but these days so too has Brett the Scud Rudd. Came to the sport with no previous motorsport experience, but boys, come on like gangbusters over the last few years. Has finished as high as second in the championship. Rookie this year is Andrew Porter, but he's doing a great job making that Porter Group Holden just as wide as possible. The concentration on the faces of both of these guys would be immense at the moment because they are battling as they come down onto the front straight once more. And they've got a healthy gap back now to Jeff SOS Spencer in the Core Steel Holden. So Holden's 1, 2 and 3. Last lap, 1 to go. Has Scud got anything for the hire man? That's the questions they'll be being asked in the pits. They'll be being asked trackside, and we're asking them as well. Will we see a change before the checkered flag comes out? So for the first time in what has been 1 3/4 races, there's no real contest going on behind. The fight's gone out of some of these guys. The fight, though, hasn't gone out of Brett the Scud Rudd. He's trying everything he can to get around Andrew Porter. Porter's trying to make that Holden just as wide as possible. Scud closes up as they work their way through the infield hairpin once again. Porter might be in a bit of tyre trouble here. The back of that Holden skating out as they head down the Denny Holm straight. Has Brett the Scud Rudd got anything for him? He drives to the outside as we look at it, coming into Higgins. Here is Richard Moore and Matt the Stinger Spratt. They're going at it like there's no tomorrow. The classic Holden Ford battle, door handle to door handle, as they work their way into Higgins as well. So there is absolutely nothing in this. Out of the top turn they come now. Andrew Porter, is he going to make history here at Manfeild? Is he going to record his first win in the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Utes? I think he is. I think he's just got the advantage he needs as he rounds out onto the front straight once again. The Porter Group Holden is going to carry the day here. Keeps it off the curbs. He'll see the checkered flag first. So Andrew Porter will record his first win in the Porter Group V8 Utes. Second place will be Brett the Scud Rudd. Jeff Spencer had a pretty old lonely race in third, and then it was Alexandra Whitley. Great performance once again from Richard Moore and Matt the Stinger Spratt. So the rest of the finishers funneling through. There's Glenn the Coyote Collins, and behind him Sam Fillmore. Fastest lap of race number 2 goes to Alexandra Whitley. And racing right to the checkered flag, it is Simon Usher and Jason Lamb. Official results sees that Andrew Porter records his first win in the category from Brett Rudd. Jeff Spencer in third place, then it's Alexandra Whitley, Richard Danger Moore, Matt the Stinger Spratt, Chris Hammertime Hanley. They're followed by the Kernahan family, and you see after that big accident, Manuel is a DNF.
We started off in third with a reverse top 10. Didn't have a real good race yesterday, and Brett was a little bit quicker in the first 4 or 5 laps till my tyres come up, and then they come on in a later part of the race, and just worked out where it is a little bit slower and might be able to get up the inside of it. But yeah, fantastic race, fully enjoyed it.
I saw Andrew come in and he did a nice move on me down the inside, so yeah, full credit to Andrew, he broke well, and it was a good race, I enjoyed it.
We got a good start today. It was a matter of finding a position there, and we had a bit of a run on Jeff a couple of times there and a rub with him, and he was just driving his racing line. And tell you what, it's one of my bugbears is actually looking in the bloody mirrors, so I thought, get those mirrors in and go. Yeah, it was good, enjoyed it.
G'day guys, Richard Moore here. The great thing about this Porter Group NZ V8 Ute category is just the fact, for me, I have to work from Monday to Friday, and to be able to come down and race just on Saturday and Sunday is a really good selling point for me. And the racing's hard. We work hard for the race wins when we can get them.
Yeah, g'day. Paul Manuel, car 15, Super Freight Partmaster car, us with Eastern Automotive, and you know, allows the guys to work on the car at work. Rather than having a full team, and it's a good balance, work and racing, whereas it's not a full-time commitment. I've always said when I stop having fun, I stop racing. So yeah, we're still going, we're still having fun. It's a great class.
So these are the grids for race number 3. It's top points of the meeting, so it means Moore and Porter are on row number 1, Rudd and Spencer on row 2, Collinson and Whitley on 3, Handley, Fillmore on 4, and Spratt and Kernahan on row 5. Paul Auto Manual will take the field from row number 6. Peter Chaos Ward is back in as well. Brilliant effort from the teams to get Paul Manual back out on the circuit. Heavy damage from race number 2. Lights about to go out here. Third and final race for the weekend. Once again, a great start from Richard Moore, but an even better one from Andrew Porter. Another good start from Jeff Spencer. Not getting away was Brett Main. That's him stopped on the grid, so he's got a little bit of work to do. Wow, there's a bit of a bash and crash as they head down into 1. It is Richard Moore trying to assert his dominance. Once again, Porter just gets a little bit sideways. Alexandra Whitley takes the outside line as well. She picks up a couple of spots, but it's Moore in the front. Porter through in second. Jeff Spencer having a fantastic round here at Manfeild. He sits in third place. Then it's Brett the Scud Rudd. Oh, and there's a big accident, and that is Sam Fillmore and Peter Chaos Ward get together, and Wardy's gone right across the grass as Fillmore slows, and here he is trying to get back onto the track once again. Peter Chaos Ward and Sam Fillmore have had a very, very exciting coming together. The racing continues though. Moore continues to lead it. Porter in second, Spence in third. Then we go back to the Scud. Then it's Collinson, Whitley, and also Matt the Stinger Spratt. Bit of a gentle lock up there from the Scud, and that allows Collinson to get just a little bit closer. Once again, clinging on to the outside is Alexandra Whitley. Geez, he's done a great job this weekend here at Manfeild. Second group coming through. It's one of the Kernahans leading that, but there is absolutely nothing in this. Once again, these grids decided by points of the meeting. That's why the fast boys were off the front. Great to see that Brent Main has rejoined the field after stalling on the line. We're just about to cross that stripe here to complete race number, or should I say lap number 1. Moore in the front. Rest of the field tracking across the line there. There is Spratt, there is Whitley. And a massive explosion from the 15 of Paul Auto Manual, the Partmaster Super Freight Holden. Lots of flames from the underneath of that car. Just wonder if that's a hangover from the massive accident he had in race number 2. The truck continues to keep going. So far, so good for Manual. But that looked like something pretty serious under the front of that Holden. We'll keep an eye on that for you. We go back to the front of the field. Andrew Porter looking really racy behind Richard Moore now. Drives up the outside of him as they work through the infield hairpin. Ford on Ford in the case of Collinson and Spratt. Behind them it's Whitley. Then we go back to Handley. Then we go back to Kernahan. This is the action at the front of the field though. Richard Moore maybe looking to close out the round win here at Manfeild. In the front, number 1, Danger is his nickname. Right in behind him it's the higher man. That is Andrew Porter. Then we go back to Spence. Then we go back to the Scud, Brett the Scud Rudd. Behind him it is Matt the Stinger Spratt, and then it's Glenn Coyote Collinson, then it's Alexander Whitley, then it's Chris Hammertime Handley, and they are once again nose to tail as they work their way down the back straight. Moore, as he did in race number 1, hanging tenaciously to the front running here, looking to pick up maximum points. Can he do it? Or will Andrew Porter make it win number 2? He picked up race win number 1 for the series in race number 2. Can he do it again here? The thing with the Utes is they're so even. Look at the Scud just making racing room as they work their way into turn 1 once again. Dives up the inside of Jeff SOS Spencer and moves up a position. So 3 Holdens in the front now. Make it 4 Holdens. Then it's 2 Fords, and then it's another 2 Fords. So it is on here. Look at Handley and Whitley. They've got together again. The LDV Ute versus the Placemakers Ute. Into the splash they go. Lock up there from Handley, and that was about preservation more than anything, because you just knew that Alexandra Whitley wasn't going to give up the space, and she didn't. Handley had to go to the break, and the bump and grind continues. And this well down the field, Richard Moore still leads it. They're all heading down the Denny Holm straight here. Once again, side-by-side action. We're looking for the battle for second and third. It's Holden on Holden. Good mate Andrew Porter diving up the inside of Brett the Scud Rudd. Can't make the pass work. I don't think Rudd's going to be able to live there as they work through the big sweeper as they go a little bit wide, and Porter asserts his dominance, so he stays in second place. Rudd tries the crossover as they come out of Higgins, but it doesn't work. They head down now to the big sweeper at the top end of the circuit here. That is Chris Amon, Manfeild Auto Course. It's Moore in the front, then it's Porter, then it's Scud, then it's Spencer. Doing a fantastic job, getting absolutely monstered now by the Holmes Group Falcon and also the DNA Custom Paints Falcon of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. And Spratt runs way wide. He got right up over the ripple strip, and that's going to cost him a spot. Or is it because he's bounced back onto the track and he's stayed in the same position? Everywhere you look, there's action on the circuit as they head down into 1 again. Spratt this time on the outside, trying to get around Collinson and maybe make a double pass and take Spence as well. Can't get it done though. They have track position as they work their way into the right-hander, forward on forward as they head down into Splash. Oh, and a problem here for Jason Land as we go to the break at Manfeild. Plenty of action still to come. It's race 3 of the Porter Group V8 Utes. Welcome back to Circuit Chris Amon, the final stages of the third and final race of the day for the Porter Group V8 Utes. We zoom in on Jeff SOS Spencer, who's had a fantastic round here. One of the originals in the fight right down to the very end. He's sandwiched between the two Fords of Collinson and Handley. Just drifting off the pacer here was Alexandra Whitley. This is the action at the front of the field. They turn down into the right-hander that is turn number 1. It's more in the front. Big lock up here from Collinson. Oh, can he gather it back up? Full opposite lock for the Ford, but he does gather it back up, and I think he's only going to lose one spot. Handley's going to dive up the inside of him. Collinson's going to argue about it all the way into the infield. They are door handle to door handle, forward on forward. Handley will prevail as they work their way through the left-right combination and into the infield hairpin. Exciting stuff here in the Porter Group Utes, and Collinson hasn't given it up yet, and now he's fallen back into the clutches of Alexandra Whitley. So action aplenty here on Grand Prix weekend. Moore continues to lead it. The Scuds got through into second place and he's closed down the gap. We watch the second group. Jeff SOS Spencer. Behind him, Chris Hammertime Handley. Then it's Collinson, and right in behind him, Alexandra Whitley. Well, she didn't do a good job of qualifying, but gee, she's done a great job of her racing this weekend. Hats off to the young lady. Really starting to raise some eyebrows from some of the expert pit watchers here in the New Zealand V8 Utes. There is Spence, there is Handley, there is Collinson, and there is the lady we're talking about. This is Alexandra Skippy Whitley, originally from Australia, but certainly making a mark in New Zealand motor racing. Down the front straight they come once again. Moore leads it. I'm pretty sure he's gone into defensive mode now. He's really got to keep Brett the Scud Rudd behind him, but the one that maybe we're watching out for is the man that's probably the fastest on the circuit at the moment, is Matt the Stinger Spratt. This is the second group. Jeff SOS Spencer, then it's Hammertime Handley and Collinson. Holden on two Fords as they work their way through Splash. This is the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. Corsteel Holden of Jeff SOS Spencer. Behind him, it's Hammertime Handley. Then it's Collinson in the FG Ford, and right in behind him, it's Alexandra Whitley. Into the infield hairpin they go. Meantime, at the front of the field, a little bit of contact there between the Primagro Homes Group Ford of Matt the Stinger Spratt and Brett the Scud Rudd. So the Stinger is really on a charge here. He's the fastest man on the circuit at the moment. He's trying for all his worth to get around Rudd, but he just can't get the pass done. There's no mirror on the passenger side of the Holden, and it looks like the Stinger's about to lose his as well. While these two are fighting, Richard Danger Moore is starting to pull away. So this race is evolving into something pretty darn special. Outside-inside cut for Spratt. Can he get the job done? Down the inside he goes, gets the nose in front, and this time it's the Scud that goes way wide. Up over the ripple strip he goes, but he comes back fighting and fighting hard. He won't have track position. That should go to the Stinger as they head down into 1, but he's got to be looking in his mirrors as well, because here comes the higher man. And straight into the side of the Ford goes Brett the Scud Rudd. Well, there's probably equal parts blame for that one, but it means that the Scud's gone back a position. Andrew Porter moves through into 3rd place. What a drive from the Stinger. He's come from way back because he had problems, and he is right in it now. Can he catch Richard Moore in the laps remaining? There is the race leader working through the gentle lock up there as he goes into the infield hairpin. So that's just giving a little bit more incentive to the man now sitting in 2nd place, making his competition debut in a Ford, and that is Matt the Stinger Spratt. The Homes Group Falcon sits in 2nd. Then it's a Patella Holden's holding him. It is the Porter Group Ute of Andrew Porter. Right in behind him, the Pellet Supplies Yale car of Brett the Scud Rudd. In and out of Higgins they go. Driving defensively now is Richard Moore. He's been in this position plenty of times before in all the different forms of racing he's done. He's got all the racecraft in the world, although he says himself these days he's no more than a part-time race driver. He works for a living these days. And he's working for this as he works his way round the top end. Up round the big sweeper they come. Matt the Stinger Sprat getting a little bit closer. He's definitely the danger man here. He's put a bit of distance between himself and Andrew Porter, so he's showing real pace. Last lap board out. What can the Stinger do? Oh, and there's a problem here, and that's not the place to have it. Hammer Time Handley gets straightened up by Alex Whitley, but that was a very fast near lose for the placemakers Ford. That was as sideways as you like. I would say the front wheels would have been on the steering stops on that one. And Chris Handy will know he's been in a ding-dong battle here at Manfeild. Now, speaking of battles, it's hotting up at the front because the Stinger is closing down Danger Moore. You can see it on the screen. They work through the infield S's here at Manfeild once again. Who gets the best drive out of the turn? And the Ford is all over the Holden. What can Stinger do? Has he got something left to attack Richard Danger Moore? Moore's got track position as they head down the Denny Holm straight, trying to go around the outside of him, and it's a long, long way as they head into Higgins. Is Matt the Stinger Sprat. He's close enough now, though. Remember, they're running to the checkered flag, and he's as close as you like, and he's got good drive coming out of Higgins. Now, is that going to translate into a pass as they head down into the big sweeper at the top end of the circuit? That's exactly what Matt the Stinger Sprat's thinking. He looks left, he looks right, he really starts to put the acid on Richard Moore. Moore's got to call in all his years and years of experience to hold him out, but I think he's going to do it. Moore's going to carry the day. Sprat's going to run it very, very close as the checkered flag comes out. Dives to the inside, can't make it work. He gets the fastest lap of the day, and he has to settle for second place. What a finish in the third and final race of the day here at Manfeild. What a performance.
It went pretty well in the whole scheme of things. What happened in race 2, I think, was just a real shame. The Mitre 10 Trade Racing Ute wasn't quite as fast as I think it could have been, but all those guys, you know, from first through to sixth, anyone could have got it. It was a bit of attrition for us. We were just trying to hold them off and playing it a little bit more conservative. I don't think that word's ever been used in a V8 Ute before, but yeah, first time for us, and we're just happy to extend that lead.
Again, old Ruddy was pretty strong in the first half of that race, and he got in underneath me at turn 1 there and proceeded to drive away from me, and then I managed to poke my nose in front of Ruddy again and come home third. So yeah, we're wrapped as.
Car was good, I was in form, and I was just plucking them off. When your mojo's like that, you know, you're just fast and you're so reliant on the car, and it's there when you need it. Bit of a shame this morning, but that's just racing, and had a good fight with the boys up the front. Moore's always there, as wide as usual, so I'll be back at Hampton and I'm ready to pounce.
So once again, the surprises in the overall result. You'll see that Matt Sprat has been penalised once again, and he's now finished in 9th place. Richard Danger Moore gets the win, though, from Andrew Porter and Brett Rudd in 3rd. Further down through the field, 12th place finish for Paul Manuel, so he gets some championship points, which is valuable at this stage. And talking of championships, we've got a new leader. It's Richard Moore on 173 points, from Glenn Collinson on 160, and Andrew Porter on 156. Paul Auto Manuel stays in 4th place, even after his troubled time here at Manfeild. So there is 2 more rounds to go in the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Utes, but gee, we saw some action today at Manfeild. Door handle to door handle racing, side by side racing. There's a little bit of biff and bash. Big crash for Paul Manuel, but luckily he came out in race number 3. Richard Moore will head to Hampton Downs as the championship leader. And after that, it's the grand finale at Pukekohe Park. We'll see you all at Hampton Downs. Shell Helix Motor Oils are proud to have presented coverage of the Porter Group V8 Utes Championship.